Hello and welcome to my watch reviews. Well, Olto-8 are back with their latest watch. Now Olto-8, if you don't know, are pretty out there. They do some very interesting and individual designs. Bit like this one here. Absolutely, utterly bonkers, but I like a bit of bonkers. So what is in the box? I don't normally do unboxings. I have to say though that this watch comes with this, it's a fake leather case, but it's a lovely little travel case. Let's have a look at what's inside. Here we go. This is Olto-8's dive watch. This is a 300-meter square watch called the Coral Steward, and it's getting a lot of influence from the old style underwater cameras, the old style underwater helmets, things like that. And you have a beautiful dial on this one. Lots and lots of texture. Maybe a little bit of a Bell and Ross vibe in the sense that it's a square or rectangular watch. But this is their own design. As always with Olto-8, their quality is absolutely sensational. It is always going to be a love-hate thing though with their designs. So let's get up close and personal on this one as I show you all the dial and all the features. Okay, let's get started then. So as always with my reviews, tend to film them as much as possible outside. Today is slightly overcast, so you don't get the full effect of it in the sun. However, this watch is, well, it's all about being underwater really. It's called the Coral Steward, and it's getting its inspiration from the old style cameras and helmets of the divers from yesteryear, and that dial also representing coral. I'd like to say on this watch it's all about the dial, and in many respects it is, because it's really unusual. But no, this is all about the watch. Every part of it is really interesting. Just look at that case as we look down. It is very, I'd like to say the word interesting, but just very different. And at first I don't know if I was that struck on it. It is a very large watch. We'll talk about the dimensions a little bit later on. And of course a square watch always looks a bit unusual on the wrist. However, this one looks better, I think, on the wrist than it does just looking at it here in these shots. So let's sort of talk a bit more about what the features are. So you can see, if we work from the outside, we have two crowns. Both are screw down crowns, and the one on the right is of course for changing the time and actually winding the watch. The one on the left is for changing that inner rotating bezel. It's a kind of compressor style dive watch. Now I like in principle an inner rotating bezel, but that's just it in principle. I think when you've got one of those, you don't use it to its full potential. I think a normal click bezel, you tend to fidget with it and things like that. You can't necessarily with this. However, it does work very well. I'll show you that very shortly as well. So if we start looking a bit closer at the dial, for instance on shots a little bit like this, you will see it's got plenty of texture. That texture, I guess, is representing coral. I don't know how they've done it. It's all very bubbly. It is available in three colours. This one a black, a green and this blue, but by far I think the blue is the winner. It is a 300-meter water resistance watch, and it is running the NH35 movement inside, so nothing special to see in there, but we do know that is completely reliable. I do like those broad hands of the design there. It looks very good. The second hand, well, the second hand's okay. It's got a nice heel to it, but there is no loom pip whatsoever, and I think that is an opportunity missed, quite frankly. Certainly again on a dive watch. At least we have the date window there at 3, utilizing the movement to its full potential. So I think now we'll stick it straight on the microscope and get a little bit closer to that dial. Right, we're going to start off at this magnification, which is ample enough. Just look, there is just a slight mark there on the O of Olto, but I won't sway that too much. You can't see it with the naked eye. let's just go around the dial. You can get the full idea of those textured bubbles that you can see, and the indices. Excuse me, I can just see a little bit of dirt. Do actually like the minute markers, the little white dots there. I think it's quite interesting how they've managed to do that and produce that on the dial, because it just looks like it's painted on. Not really seeing too many anomalies. There is one or two little things that I think if we go a little bit closer in just a moment I will show you. Just trying to look at it here from a little angle as well, as it comes out a little bit. Interesting, you can see there's indentations inside those bubbles as well. Right, okay, let's get a bit closer. Here we are, about as close as I dare go. You can still see that mark on the Olto. Indices, look, they're just slightly weird. That one there, it's a little bit sort of off center with the loom in the middle itself. The position's right. Similar there with that one. So what's going on there? They don't look as well made as things I've seen in the past. Again, we are close magnification. You can't necessarily see this with your eyes. And again, just looking at those bubbles and the bubbles within the bubbles, I do really like that. I have no idea how they've produced this dial, but it certainly gives it that sort of wet feel, coral feel, which is what, of course, they are going for. So I kind of like what I'm seeing. Just think they could improve those indices a little bit better. Then quickly, while we're on the microscope, here's the Caseback. You can see it's a screw down. It's got 4 screws, one in each corner. That's because it's rectangle, so that is offering its 300 meter water resistance. There are a few scratches and scuffs, but that's because I have been wearing them. And here's a slight negative. You can see here, it's a rubber strap. It's really, really comfortable, I have to say. But rubber straps equal attracting all the fluff and all the dirt. Now, you know, I have been wearing this watch a lot, and therefore that's the reason why all that is on there. Now with the watch in hand, I can demonstrate those crowns. So it just simply unscrews, and then you can rotate the bezel to your heart's content, to wherever position you need to line it up to. And then when you're done, you just push the crown in a little bit, and that's enough. It keeps it in position for you to then tighten the crown and keep it all locked. Of course, the other side is exactly the same. Unscrew it to be able to wind the movement, or of course set the hands as you wish. I kind of like this 2 crown operation. I like the design of it, at least. I'd like to say that Olto-8 are thinking out of the box, and in many respects they are, but it is a kind of square box shaped watch, so we're thinking out of the box but we're in a box, if that makes any sense at all. Now here we can have a look at the case sort of finishing in design in a little bit more detail. So of course on the top it's brushed, very linear. It's almost surface ground in an engineering terminology. Done very well. I like the sides are polished. Then the next section, which is this sort of bracket that goes around the case itself. It's almost like a guard, isn't it, really? And that has a combination of brushed and polished surfaces as well. Pretty good how it's done. I think it's a 3-part case, this. I'm not 100% sure because I haven't took it apart, and perhaps that is something I should have done in this video. You can see there that the crown is also signed. They are both signed on each side, actually. Then looking at the end here as well, just a little bit of a cutout feature there. You can see how flat it is. Sapphire crystal, and it is pretty much flush with the case, so you're probably going to scar the case before you scar the crystal if you have any knocks and bumps and stuff. Again, just looking at some more angles. Yeah, very interesting. It's that word I keep using. There's no other way to describe it. It's very sort of industrial looking, this watch, I feel. Another quick look at the Caseback. I like the Caseback in many respects. They've etched this helmet on there. Of course, you've got Olto-8, Sapphire, all stainless steel and automatic, but at least they've made the effort, and I do like people who make effort on their Casebacks. There we go. Quick blast to the UV torch, and this is the loom shot that you get. It's got a blue hue. It looks a little bit greenish perhaps on the camera. Now this is time lapse, of course, over about 10-12 minutes, and you can see the hands are bright. The indices aren't too bad. That's because they're all filled. but the bezel gives up almost immediately. It is printed on the bezel, and perhaps they could have printed that a little bit better. It fades, well, too quickly for my liking, but you can still visibly see the hands after even the film has ended here, but it isn't as good as many other watches that I reviewed on this channel, so not the best of Lume on this one, which is a shame. With the watch in hand, you can see a little bit of AR coating there, and look at the angle you can get and still see the watch and read the time, and that is purely because it's got such a flat crystal in it. Right, let's size it up. So I've got the plastic calipers out, zeroed them, and here we go. We get from those sort of side pieces 45 millimeters and a shocking 48 with the crowns. Look to look though, well, it's just a little bit bigger at 48, and that's including the rubber strap there. Thickness isn't bad though. It is 12.9 for a 300 meter diver. That's decent. Taking the strap off, you've got a 22mm lug width, and if we measure the strap, of course, it's going to be 22mm at the top there, coming up with 21.5, but there you go, and it's going to taper down to 19.5, so pretty decent all in. Okay, brace yourselves, it's wrist shot time. It is a big watch. I've got a 7-inch wrist, 18 centimeters, and there you go. It is a whopper, but it does wear okay. I've wore this for about a week, and honestly, I love it. It's better with like a shirt or you know, a hoodie or something like that, but yeah, not for the small wrists definitely, but you want something different, this one might be the one for you. It's an NH35. Let's test it in 4 positions. These are speeded up ever so slightly. +4 at dial up, down to +9. It's ranging, what, 12, 13 plus seconds at dial down. At crown up, similar again, not losing too much, look, 8-9 seconds. And then crown down, pretty similar as well. So it's decent, very decent. Here we are with the watch in hand. You can just get a few more looks at it while I talk about the all-important price. So Olto-8 launch all of their watches on Kickstarter. This one launches on the 29th of April, so only a few days time. If you get the early bird in now and sign up, you get 25% off. They have not told me the prices, so I've had to watch other reviewers who are basically saying it'll retail at $400, and if you get the early bird, it's going to reduce it by 25%, so you're down to $300. And you know what, at $300, that ain't a bad price for a watch like this, that there ain't going to be many people wearing them. And you've got to like it, of course, but if you do, that's a good price to pay for something as individual as that. At least that's what I think anyway. Yes, there are a few negatives, perhaps, like the lume could be better, maybe the accuracy of those indices being a bit more even with their lume as well might help, but again, for this sort of price point, I think it's okay, and certainly a unique watch. What I failed to say, and it's very important, that these guys will actually give back to coral conservation for every watch that is purchased, so you're actually helping the marine environment by buying this watch as well, which is very, very commendable, because we all know that the oceans are a mess, and many of the coral reefs are also a mess, tragically. So that's the end of the review. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, of course, please leave your comments down below. I'll be very interested to hear what all of you have got to say about this particular watch, good or bad. Of course, if you enjoyed the video, hit the thumbs up, it really does help the channel, and subscribe if you're new and you enjoyed what you saw. I'll be back very soon with more watches to put under the microscope. Sorry I didn't take this one apart. Time constraints and the fact it's also screwed back like that. I didn't really want to go in just to have a look at the NH35. We've seen it time and time and time again. But I promise you, the next watch will be taken apart as per what I like to do on this channel. Okay, bye for now. See you in the next one.